Today we're working on an Infiniti G35X 2008 with a 3.5 motor. We are going to change the oil. We are going to use a synthetic 530, high mileage. We're going to show you how to do that. The drain plug is located usually under a plastic panel here. This one's gone, and it's located right here. This is going to be removed with a 14 millimeter socket. And of course, you're going to need a drain pan underneath it. When it's done draining, you reinstall the plug to factory specs. Make sure you start it by hand so you don't cross-thread it. And then torque it with a 14 millimeter to factory specs. The oil filter on this Infiniti is behind a panel, which has a 10 millimeter, and should be one right there, but of course it's an older vehicle, so it's broken off. You remove this 10 so you can access the oil filter. And if you look up in here, you can see the oil filter sitting right here. Okay, on your vehicle, you're going to want to use a good quality oil filter. Prefer to change the oil with the synthetic every 4,000 to 5,000 miles. And you are going to need either a tool like this to fit the oil filter or one like this. So sometimes these only have to be hand tight, but if the person that put it on before you over tightened it, this makes it a lot easier to get off. Make sure you have your pan, of course, underneath there. Let it drain. When you take the oil filter off, you want to make sure that this rubber seal did not stick here. Make sure that's nice and clean and ready for the new one to go on. This is the rubber seal we're talking about. You want to make sure that comes off with the filter. Today we are using Castrol high mileage. Anything over 75,000 miles it's recommended for. I've had very good luck with this oil. And on the filter, on this K&M, we are going to compare it to the old one to make sure that it looks like it's the same size. On this right here, it's a good idea. You see how this is dry, to take a little oil out of there, lube that up so it seals properly. And if the filter attaches to the motor straight up, and then you could fill this up and then go up and screw it on. But if it's at an angle, definitely not a good idea, of course, because it'll run out. Be messy, so. And what you want to look for is you look at the O-ring and make sure the threads look the same and that it seals the same. We're going to spin this on and we're going to go hand tight. That's all it's recommended. And I still like to go a quarter turn past that, but all that's necessary is hand tight for it not to leak. Once you're installed the filter, then you want to go in there and clean it up, wipe it, and make sure there's no drips, and then keep an eye on it after in your driveway after you've changed the oil. Once you've installed the filter, now we put this cover plate back in place. And then if you're broken or whatever, you can always use zip ties to hold it in place. On the oil drain plug was a 14 millimeter, and on the cover was a 10 millimeter. Now when you're going to install the oil in your motor, you look for this on the top. It shows the oil. Take that off and put a clean funnel in there so you don't spill it. And install, this motor holds 5 quarts. Some hold 6 or 7, so always check on how many your vehicle holds. And it's not worth trying to get a 1999 oil change. You don't want to save on that. You want to protect your motor. Like I said, this one holds 5 quarts, and this jug, of course, is 5 quarts exactly. Now once that's in there, you want to reinstall your oil cap, tighten it up, and then you can check it with your stick. This is your oil dipstick. You want to make sure it's up to the lines where it's supposed to be. And of course, nice and clean. Anytime you change the oil, you always want to check your coolant level to make sure that's at the right height. And this is your coolant jug on this vehicle. It's right there. You can see it's at the right level. This is your power steering right here. You can see it's full. And the next thing, if you're low on window wash fluid, it goes right there. So that's 3 important things you want to check all the time. And then also, it's a good idea if you're going to keep the car for a while to lubricate any moving parts. Would be like here, your door latches or trunk latch, anything like that that can use WD to make it work better. Okay, this is how you change the oil on a Nissan or Infiniti. It should be a 3.5 motor or 3.7. Just definitely when you're done, check for leaks once you start it, and you're good to go for 5,000 miles.